My name is Jacqueline Dixon, and welcome to the Ordinary People Show. I'm excited today to be interviewing business coaching experts Sue and Mark Luray with Excel No Excuses. Hello, Mark and Sue.
Hi, Jackie.
Welcome to the Ordinary People Show.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Listen, I'm excited to go deep into this conversation today because we're going to be talking about a topic of discussion that I'm very familiar with, and it's a lifestyle that I also live, and we now get to share it with our ordinary people viewers and break it down for them in a really simplistic way so that they can get an appreciation for all of the benefits that are associated with educating yourselves on business matters and principles and all the things that make for a better individual business-wise and personal. Mm-hmm. So let's start with you, Sue, yes. Okay? You are one half of the organization. Tell us about what you bring to the organization, what role you play.
Yes, so I am a financial coach. I bring 25 years of financial experience within the financial industry. I actually am employed with one of the top 5 banks in Canada. And so I'm bringing that financial knowledge to the company, to our business, and I'm coaching individuals and families who need that support in order to establish financial security and wealth.
Fabulous. And Mark, you're the other half of this powerhouse team. What are the skill sets that you bring to the organization?
Basically experience. I started my first business when I was 23 years old. I only had $22 and a penny to my name. It was a window cleaning company, and I grew it to multiple 6 figures and sold it and went on to other businesses and did the same. And yeah, there were some failures in there, some ups and downs, and I learned from all of those. Learned about sales, learned how to hire people, learned how to fire people, learned so much that goes into business, right? And so that's what I bring to the table as a business coach, is just helping other businesses to excel with no excuses.
Fantastic. What a fantastic conglomerate. But there's also something else that's really super special about you too. And what is that?
Well, I have to say that it's we don't just coach from experience of having a business or being in the financial industry. It's also from lived experiences. So, Mark mentioned having businesses, but for myself, from the financial perspective, I am a mother of 4. I'm a survivor of domestic violence. And at one point in my life, I became a single mother with the children trying to survive. And it was because of the financial knowledge that I had and the expertise that I had that I was able to use that to make strategic decisions and moves that allowed us to survive and thrive. And so that's what I bring to the table, is that when I speak to individuals or families, I'm speaking from a place of that lived experience, and I'm not just talking about something that I may have learned along the way through my profession. I actually understand what it is to have at some point struggled, and to teach others that you can overcome that struggle and you can position yourself to be successful.
Fantastic. The lived experience, can't say more about that. Mark, did you have a story similar to Sue's that allowed you guys to align so well?
Well, basically, I've always been passionate about working for myself or doing, creating my own path. And growing up, I was told that, I'm a good for nothing, I won't amount to anything. I went through a lot of that and struggled with that over the years. And so having my own business and starting and going through all those hurdles, I dealt with those limiting beliefs, and that has helped to shape who I am. And of course, I got an amazing partner who supports me and pushes me to do what I do. So yeah.
Fantastic. Listen, it's one thing to be business partners, but it's another thing to also be partners in life as well. Yeah. So I understand that you two have come together, brought your skill sets, brought your lived experiences together, and created this organization, but you've also created a life for yourselves as a couple, which is fantastic. So now you're able to build on the foundation of your past experiences and obviously business knowledge and make it into a family-run organization. We're going to talk about that a little bit more later in the interview, but let's break it down now a little bit more simpler for the viewers where business coaching is concerned. business coaching is such a broad category. So I want to break it down for our viewers. Mark, please tell us what aspect of business coaching you specialize in, what area, and what you're able to help the average business person with.
Yeah, so my specialty is with startups and small businesses. If you can't have a business, I always say this, the lifeline of every business is its customers. If you don't have customers, you don't have a business. And that's where a lot of business owners struggle, to grow their business. So yeah, you can grow your business with staff, having people around you and all that, but if you don't have customers to support that and the revenue to come in. So I focus on lead generation and sales. That's what I focus on with to help our clients to get better at that. A lot of times it's the limiting beliefs that they have, such as I'm not a salesperson, I don't want to sound salesy. There's so many that goes into that, and even I believed that at one point. I'm not a sales guy. When I started my window cleaning company, for example, I used to say I'm not a sales guy, I'm a window cleaner. Until this guy named Peter, some guy named Peter that I worked with, long story short, at a company that I worked at in the wintertime. It was a window cleaning company they had, as they said. And in the wintertime, I had to find jobs in those first couple of years. And Peter taught me that sales is really about communicating the value of your product and service in exchange for money. And once I learned that, I've never worked a traditional job again.
Wonderful, fantastic, and kudos to you on that. I support that statement 100%. I personally have always said that sales skills are life skills. So when we as individuals say, well, I'm not a salesperson, I don't know anything about sales. Do you have children? Have you ever had to tell a child that it's time to go to bed? You're a salesperson, because you have to use these sales skills in every aspect of our life. And learning how to sell is not necessarily exclusive to being in business. Being able to gain sales skills makes us better at all the negotiation situations that we could end up in life, whether it's buying a home, buying a car, trying to get that great vacation deal. These are all skill sets that are byproducts of learning how to sell. So let's talk about the startup entrepreneur, because I'm very much interested in that category of entrepreneur, because we're seeing more and more of them every day, right? We're seeing more and more people trying to start what we'd call a side business. How does one get started? What are the experiences? What can you expect as a startup entrepreneur, say, for example, in your first 2 to 3 years?
Yeah. First of all, you have to have a plan, right? There's a plan and a goal. There's no success without a plan. Know who who your clients are, who you want to serve, understand who your competitors are, understand the market. Is there a need for the business that you're trying to do, the product or service that you're trying to sell? Financial, and that's where Sue comes in, doing some financial planning, how much money is required to get into what I'm doing, and where do I allocate that money for marketing, and how am I going to market, social media branding. There's so many different things that goes into that, and that almost sounds complex and overwhelming, but it doesn't need to be,
right?
Hence why you need a coach. So that's basically the first steps into starting a business. You have to have a plan.
So let's talk about that plan, Sue. So I want to open up a business, right? Because I bake cakes, and I know that everyone's just going to love my cakes. What do I start? What do I do? Do I just start baking a whole bunch of cakes and waiting for somebody to knock my door? Or do I have to take other things into consideration, such as how am I going to purchase the supplies that I need to make my cakes? Yeah. And how many cakes can I make? And how many cakes do I have to sell? Those are all aspects or parts of the financial planning part of entrepreneurship. Am I correct?
Exactly.
Can you walk us through some of the steps, the early steps for a startup entrepreneur financially?
Yeah, so that's a really great point, Jackie. You can say, I want to bake cakes, but at what level, on what scale? And if you have niched it down and you understand who your target market is and who your clients are, you need to have an understanding of what goes into that and what's needed. So again, that's where we look at the financial plan and say, okay, so what are your supplies and inventory that's required, and what would be the cost of that, especially in today's world where, cost of food is increasing. So you need to have a realistic view of that. And that's why Mark said it's very important to have the financial plan. So when you look at a financial plan, it's the budgeting. And in budgeting 101, you start with how much are you going to need? What are your costs that are involved? And if you're going to go on a larger scale to bake cakes, your kitchen at home may not be the right space for that. You may have to start looking for a commercial kitchen. And then there's more, investment involved in that. So there's costs involved. So we need to break that down and look at it. And that's what I do, is create a more simplistic view of what these costs involved look like. And then also, as you start to now discover, is it their marketing involved? Is there a cost for that? Will you leverage social media, which can be very inexpensive? So looking at all of these different angles that will help to build a business and then get the business off its feet and running, what expenses are incurred. And then as you start to generate income and revenue, do you invest that back into the company? But also very important, as with individuals and personal finance, you do have to set aside some savings and a contingency plan in your business. So look at all of that.
Amazing. So let's go back to Mark. So Mark, you mentioned all of these various different areas in which you have to work on simultaneously in order to be a successful entrepreneur. But what would you say is the very first step towards becoming an entrepreneur that an individual should embark upon before they actually turn on the "we're open for business" sign?
That's a great question. The very first step, I would say, is surround yourself with the right people. That's important. Get some supporters around you. That's really important. People that's willing to help you, people that's willing to encourage you and motivate you, because entrepreneurship is a very difficult road. It is. A lot of times we look at the glitz and the glamour and the nice cars and the fancy houses and stuff like that. And yeah, that can be it. That is the result, eventually. But there are steps. It's a journey to get there. So a lot of times I encourage my clients, to make sure who's in your corner, right? Who's your supporters? That's a big help for.
Very, very, very true. We all need those support systems because there's going to be, ebbs and flows, right? Ups and downs, and there's a lot of downs before there's any consistency with the ups, right?
Yeah. It's word of mouth also. Sorry, Jackie. It's word of mouth also. So when you have that support network that's around you and encouraging you, they also will share your business as well. They'll talk about it with others, and that's how you grow your network. You grow your business through word of mouth.
Yeah. Very, very good. Whenever I'm talking because we're in a similar industry, and whenever I'm speaking with clients or entrepreneurs, I always say to them, always put pen to paper. Put pen to paper.
Yes.
Okay. Put pen to paper for so many different reasons. Put pen to paper in order to map out your dream, right? Put pen to paper in order to map out your financial responsibilities, your needs. And then also put pen to paper so that you can be able to mark your successes along the way, because we need to be able to do self-assessments as we go, through our journey of being an entrepreneur, to determine what is working and what is not.
Absolutely.
And, where should we critique things and tighten things up, or maybe do more of. So there's all of these things involved in that. But when we talk about business coaching per se, that now is a whole different kind of ball game from being an entrepreneur. So there's a term that says the coach needs a coach.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you explain what that is for the average person for us? What does that term really mean?
I love that question, Jacqueline. I have a saying that says, it's okay to do things by yourself, but doing it with others is even better. Everyone needs someone. We all have to learn from each other, no matter who you are, how good you are at whatever you do. Everyone, Tiger Woods, great. We all know Tiger Woods, an excellent golfer. Probably one of the best. I'm not a golfer myself personally, but I know Tiger Woods, one of the best golfers that we know of all time. And he had a coach. Michael Jordan had Phil Jackson. Every player, and even now Michael Jordan, he has coached, and there's others that he mentors. So we all, no man's an island, we all need a coach. And there's another thing that I learned when I was 19 years old, and it's always stuck with me. A wise man learns from his mistakes, but a wiser man learns from another man's mistakes.
Fantastic. So we're going to hold it right there because I want to come back right after our commercial break and pick up where we left off.
This program is brought to you by Rogers Xfinity, connecting you to more of what you love. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
It's closing time, and you stayed out longer than you planned. So now you can't drive, and the buses have stopped running. You could always call your girlfriend. Or maybe your roommate? What about your best friend? You could just dial 1-888-TAXI-GUY or use the Taxi Guy app. The call and the app are free, and they both connect you to a local cab company to bring you home safely. Visit ArriveAlive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive, drive sober.
Welcome back to the Ordinary People Show. Today, I am with Mark and Sue LeRae, and we're going to pick up the conversation about business coaching, where we left off. Let's start with Sue. Sue, we heard from Mark before the commercial about why it is important as an entrepreneur to take coaching services or to get a coach that can help you through all the nuances of how to be a successful entrepreneur. But the financial part that you mentioned earlier and the importance of it, can we drill down in that a little bit more? Tell us some of the tools that an individual can use in order to help keep their finances in order.
Yes, very good, Jackie. So, again, I mentioned a budget before. That's the first step, is understanding the cash flow. So understanding how much you're making, what's coming in, and where are you spending your money. These days, it's so common to have subscriptions and stream TV channels, that can add up over time. So we really need to understand, where are we spending our money? That would be step number one. And then when you have a good understanding of what you're spending your money on and how much you have left over, that's where you now start to drill down and maybe cut back on certain things so that you can establish good spending habits, healthy spending habits. There's this strategy that's called the 50-30-20 rule. And it basically is a financial strategy that says 50% of your income should be used towards your needs, 30% you spend on your wants, and 20% is used for your debt repayment and your savings. So that's really how your income should be allocated. And that's the strategy that we use in our business as well with our clients.
Do you teach clients on how to chart that information? How do you collect it and keep record of it?
Yes, absolutely. So what we do is we actually do a full picture with the client. So I have had a client recently that I was working with who was more heavier on debt and really wanting to save and really feeling the stressors of having this debt. And so, there's a financial disclosure that has to take place where the client then shared all of the credit card debts and any borrowing debts that this individual had. And then we looked at their income. And then again, a full financial review of how the money was being spent, and then where there could be some savings that could then be used to allocate towards that debt repayment. And over the 6-month program, the client was able to actually pay off one of their credit cards. So there was some huge success there, and the spending habits of this individual actually changed. So where this person was spending more on, takeout and things like that, they now started to buy more groceries. And so they found that they were saving month over month.
That's amazing. I love having those aha moments.
Yeah.
I know personally that whenever I have tracked myself and I don't do it regularly enough. As much as I talk about it, I don't do it regularly enough. But in instances where I am really regimenting myself in order to get a handle on how my money is flowing, I have these aha moments, and I'm like, oh my God, I did not know that drive-through at Tim Hortons every morning was amounting to so much.
Yes.
So these are the things that, understanding and getting a hold of your finances can empower you in such a positive way and have a great outcome like your client.
Yeah.
Mark, let's talk about some of your clients. How do you interact with your clients mainly? Is it in classroom settings? Do you do one-on-one? And what are some of the success stories that you can share with us about individuals or entrepreneurs that have decided to invest in business coaching?
Yeah, I love that question. So we have a very wide range of ways that we deal with our clients. Most of our clients, our one-on-one coaching is virtually, because we do have clients right, even in other countries, U.S. as well as right now currently dealing with somebody in Australia, but it's virtually. I do have VIP days that we run with select clients who buy into that and want to learn something specific on that day. We just go right in. So, for example, if it's sales, we're gonna spend 6 hours. And we get them food, feed them, and we're just in a classroom setting, and we're working on that. And we do workshops and seminars from time to time. So there's a wide range. And then there are individuals that just pull on our programs and just sort of do it themselves, right? Those are the ones that want to do things on their own and haven't seen the value, I guess, of having a coach in their corner. But we also have resources available to those individuals too. In terms of the success story, one that comes to mind, we have a number of them, but one that comes to mind where I would say a holistic approach was a barbershop owner that wanted to leave her full-time job. She had this barbershop, started it during COVID, and before. It was actually just before COVID, and then, we know what happened then. And she survived, the business survived, but she wanted to get out of her full-time job. And so we helped her to do that. Not only just focusing on her only, but we worked with her entire team, all the barbers, with their finances. Also, we went through sales training. They created a membership in the barbershop so people can buy memberships also and increase that flow of revenue coming into the business. And of course, she left her full-time job, and she's there full-time to this day. And you know what? I forgot to tell you this. I love it. The other day I called for her, and they're like, she's got a day. This is her day off today. So I just love that because she literally was working around the clock, and she was actually close to burnout. She was having some physical ailments as a result of doing both and doing it all on her own. But yeah.
Amazing. I love it when a side hustle comes together.
Yeah.
It is amazing, isn't it? Yeah. You know what? But a lot of us in business, entrepreneurs or big business, big or small, when we run into hurdles, as we all do sometimes, or roadblocks, or a place where we become stagnant in our growth as a business, we are unsure of exactly how to get ourselves out of that problem. At what point does an individual need to contact a coach? At what point in our entrepreneurship journey should we be reaching out to get a business coach?
That's a really good question. I wish I knew this. I wish I knew the answer to this question, when I first started. It would have been right away. the moment you've decided that you want to start a business, get that coach in your corner right away. And as I said, a lot of times people think it's a lot of money, and it depends, obviously. But as I said, we have programs that resources. We have a community that you can pull resources that will help you. That yes, you can go in on your own. You can join our workshops, our group sessions. I wish I did that. Then I would have been further ahead now.
Mark, there you go again. I'm telling you, I'm going to support you on that one. I always tell a quick story, whenever I'm, conducting a seminar or a workshop, and I tell them, I remember specifically, I nearly went bankrupt going into business. I nearly went bankrupt going into business because I had not taken the time out to properly plan for the amount of expenses that I would incur before I ever generated $1.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And this is what some of us who are in business currently, or some of us who are thinking about going into business, don't understand, that you will spend before you make. Listen, I could talk about this subject all day long because I love it, and I am a testament to everything that you're talking about. But we can't. So I want to say this much to you, that we definitely want you back on the show again to continue talking to our viewers about business coaching. With so many people now venturing into entrepreneurship, we need a coach to talk to us about the ups and downs and the successes as well. So I want to know, if I were an entrepreneur and I'm thinking about expanding my business, or maybe closing down my business, or if I'm not an entrepreneur, but I'm thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, how do I get a hold of this dream team?
Yeah, so you can find us at Excel No Excuses on Instagram. We're on Instagram, all the social media outlets. You can find me, Mark Leray, on Instagram also. I also have a podcast, Behind the Business, Candid Conversations with Entrepreneurs. It's on Spotify and on YouTube. You can check that out. A lot of times I bring in entrepreneurs who will share a lot of good information that you can learn from. That's basically it.
Yeah, and for myself, I'm on Instagram at Sue-Ann Leray as well. You can find me at Excel No Excuses on Instagram, Facebook and LinkedIn, Sue-Ann Leray.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us on the Ordinary People Show today. Best of success with your business.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you for joining us for another episode of the Ordinary People Show, where ordinary people are doing extraordinary things. Cheers.